This episode of the Off-Road Podcast is sponsored by Ben, Coy, and Aaron.
Off-Road Podcast, episode 477. Our last episode.
You sound so sad, Ben.
Just a bit.
Tonight, Aaron becomes ultra. Coy is still screeching. And Ben prepares to shut up.
I doubt it.
Welcome to the Off-Road Podcast, the podcast about everything off-road. We covered the news, we review products, we interview people in the off-road industry. Your hosts tonight are Aaron, Coy, and my name is Ben, and welcome to our very last show.
Coy, what are you screeching about?
Oh, I believe there's something you wanted to bring up before all this, Aaron.
Yeah, there is. And it is that I forgot that I was going to bring this up before I talked about that. I was just so excited to hear about your screeching. So, but before we kick off this episode, I just wanted to recognize all the people who've been affected by Hurricane Helen that hit the Southwest U.S. I know that entire towns have been absolutely hammered. I have been listening to some ham radio channels that you can access through different stuff, and one of them mentioned that this one town isn't going to have power until Friday, which means they're like an entire week without power. That's a lot. And that means if they don't have power, they probably don't have water or sewer. So that's a big deal. So
Hey,
my hope,
Eric just asked if I'm the only one with no audio. If somebody else doesn't have audio, let us know.
I'm gonna guess it's Eric.
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess it's Eric. He's got to put his hearing aids in. So my hope is that there's wheeling communities out there that Badlands, you can't just say yes. Does that mean yes, we have no audio, or yes, he is the only one?
He definitely has it. He wouldn't have been able to reply had he.
But you can read the comments. They're both in the YouTube chat.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. So my hope is that the wheeling network out there is taking up the torch and trying to deliver what they can, hauling stuff, doing that kind of thing. And because I'm starting to see it now in social media. I saw a whole bunch of helicopters at an airport that were going to be hauling supplies to people, all private stuff. So the government always drops the ball.
There's a whole bunch of towns that have like all the bridges. They're isolated whole areas because all bridges and stuff wash out, which is crazy.
I like Mark's comment. He says, "My friend with his snorkel on a Subaru finally has something to argue about."
Goober.
Yeah, Ben and I both have snorkels, so if we were there, we'd be able to make it.
I was just sent a video of some stuff going on there right before this show started, and just a raging river, and there's just like a brand new looking coffin just coming down, surfing the waves. Apparently some graveyards got washed out, but can you imagine? You're just in your coffin, resting peacefully, and next thing you know, you're just on the mighty Mississippi or whatever river, just blasted.
Let's go surfing now. Everybody's learning how. Come on a safari with me. Now we're going to get flagged on YouTube because I was singing, but who cares? It's our last show. I really do hope that our wheeling community does that. So, yeah.
If you're out that way and you have the ability to help, it's not hurting you to go out of your way to help your fellow man. So,
yeah, give it a shot
if you have the ability to.
Yeah. Coy, I guess I have to repeat myself. What's the screeching all about?
Well, I don't know if you remember when we left Moab after just all that light wheeling. There was a kind of a loud, metallic, grindy, screechy scrape in my driver front suspension.
Yeah.
It was an unpleasant noise. So we kind of all decided it was upper ball joint. It wasn't. I replaced that with my backup ball joint. I like that rolls off the tongue good, backup ball joint. I don't know why.
What a king to just be able to have backup parts like that. Like that's a boss
I had it
move.
with me the whole time.
Yeah, that's a boss move.
Yeah, I'm an IFS guy. As long as you keep a backup ball joint and tie rod, you shall not break one. That's Wheelations 437.
Wheelations.
That explains a lot with my problems right there.
Yeah, I have not one but two backup tie rods just in case, and a backup ball joint, and that's why they flawlessly never break. So it wasn't that. Definitely isn't that. I honestly think it's the lower because I have the Total Chaos lowers, so those are like a uniball kind of thing down there.
Yeah.
I'm just assuming, like, I know they need replaced anyways. They're like 4 years old. I'm assuming a little chunk of something got in there.
There was definitely some very fine powdery dust that we went through.
So
silt.
Yeah. So I'm assuming something's in there because it can make the noise when I turn the wheel and when I hit suspension just right. Because either that, I thought it could be my tire steering rack. That shouldn't do it under suspension load, I don't think. So I think it's that, which sucks because you got to press those in and out, which means you got to pull my whole lower A-arms probably, unless I figure out a way to do it on the truck. But so be it. They needed done anyways. I should have done them probably a while ago, but
you got one more trip out on it.
I'm going to do those, and I'll go ahead and do probably my tie rods and stuff at the same time. And I might even go ahead and do some steering rack bushings while I'm in there.
Wow.
And I got to...
you're just going to freshen it all up.
Yeah, I mean, because I'm going to have to take my bumper off and get my winch out, send that in since it's not working right. And I don't want to, but I've had a tiny like oil seep in my timing chain cover for the last,
don't do it.
I don't know, like 100,000 miles. And I'm like, man, I have the bumper off. I'll have the suspension off. Do I just do it?
Nope. Don't do it.
Just let
if
it.
It's just
ride.
seep, spray it with some Flex Seal.
Oh,
clean it up real good. Flex Seal
I'm
it
not
on.
even really sure where. It's such a slow leak that I don't know where. I just know about where it is, and it's somewhere on the timing chain cover, and that's it. So
let her drip.
Let her drip. Okay.
You live on a gravel road. It's good for dust abatement.
No, true. So, yeah, that's what I did this last weekend. I did some other stuff like dump runs and not cool wheeling stuff, but I also. And, listeners, you're not going to hear about this anymore. Like, this is probably something you look forward to hearing about every year. And then now this is gone for you, but I set the date for my pumpkin spice party. So, but it's, it's a month out.
Within 11 seconds of you setting that date, I RSVP'd.
I noticed.
But you haven't invited me yet, so therefore you knew I wasn't going to come anyways, right?
I knew you weren't going to come. I've invited you the last like 6 years, and you're always like,
no, not the last 6 years.
Bad.
It's been like 2 years.
No, it has not.
No.
Mark Dibble says no, he has commented yet, but damn Coy sure is cool. I want to just make sure you see that not only is it a flag, we got Bigfoot, a bearded Bigfoot. And I'm not talking about Ben. A bearded Sasquatch flying the American flag on an American flag shirt. It doesn't get much better than this shirt.
Those colors don't run.
I figured for the last episode, I was going to be patriotic and paranormal. I wanted to show my patriotism and my cryptozoology as well, just for the last episode. I was kind of at the front of my mind.
All right. Well, I'll be there, Ben or Coy. I don't know what I'm bringing yet, but I'll be there. I put it on the calendar. Then I said to my wife, just so you know, this is an event that's happening that we'll be at. I didn't give her an option. I didn't give her an option.
So if you had to bring one thing, There's a off-road challenge arcade game on Marketplace right now, and it's down to $500. It's in White Salmon, which is like a 2-hour drive. If you wanted to snag that and bring it to the party, I think it would be a huge hit because it's all like 30 and 40-year-olds, and that's really our jam. Is like
that would be
a video game from
maybe next year. Maybe next year. Is it a 3-person cabinet?
It's just a 1-person stand-up.
Oh, okay. All right.
Which is, sucks because you can't race each other, but it's a space saver, And
it's true.
Like if you have a Toyota Off-Road Challenge arcade console in your house, it really gives that Toyota statement like, hey, this is a Toyota family. Yeah. So if you wanted to pick that up and just leave it at my house, that'd be cool.
I just had this discussion with my wife this afternoon. She was paying some bills and stuff. I'm like, it's nice I'm making more money now, right? Like $15 more an hour. And she's like, yeah, it is nice. And then she started to say, but, and I just went, shh. I know what you're going to say. I know the word's getting ready to come out of your mouth. You don't need to say it. I know what you're going to say.
Yeah. But you just took a huge vacation, not a family one, and spent a ton of money. Yeah, one of those, Ben. That exact one. That's
Ben
for sale.
Picked it up. Ben would picked it up already.
I would throat punch Ben and then give him a loving hug if he bought that.
No, I was digging through some old photos for this week, and I found this one. I was like, oh, it's me, a Firearms Radio Network shirt, and I think this was a drive-in in near Tahuya in Belfair. And they had it there, and I was just like, oh, look at this. And I remember sending it to you guys. Well, to Aaron and our old chat.
I remember you having that shirt. I think you bought it for your boys also.
Yes. All 3 of my boys had that shirt.
Yep. Well, I touched my truck for the first time since Moab. I forgot to mention that besides having ECU issues, I also tore a CV boot. I dented something. The rear bumper on my truck is kind of rotated up a little bit, maybe 5.5 degrees from coming off all those ledges. So there's definitely work that needs to be done to my truck. So I made sure to get right on it, and I installed my Ultra Hook that came in the mail. So I'm pretty sure by putting that on, all the other things are now fixed, including the little bit of leak that I have coming from somewhere, a little engine oil leak. But the Ultra Hook came in the mail while we were in Moab, and so I got to put it on after I got back. It looks pretty sweet, though. I'm excited to snatch that onto something. Besides that, I know I've talked about my shop a whole lot and things like that, but I'm finally moving my tools from the old shop into the new shop. So here we go. Here's a picture. You guys have seen those covers before. My toolbox in the left side of the screen next to the 6-foot ladder is finally in the shop. I don't have to go to the old shop for tools when I'm working on my truck, things like that. And then in the 2 sets of cupboards down below on the right side that aren't open, last night and today I organized everything in there. This is all 12-volt stuff. So I've got everything's labeled there. I've got 12-volt battery chargers. I've got pumps and motors. I've got all the crimps and eyelets and butt connectors and heat shrink tube. I've got tools down there, soldering stuff, light bulbs, relays, just all kinds of stuff. Straps, wire harnesses. I can't think of some solar stuff. So I got that all organized, which I was really proud that I was able to get that all cranked out. And it made me realize I've got a lot of 12-volt working on car stuff. So that's what I've been up to this week. I also organized this section in my shop too. It doesn't look, the top shelf isn't organized, but everything else is. So what a mess. It's hard to it's hard to try to dial in a new workspace and think about where everything's going to go and be happy with it. So
I almost sent it to you for your shop, but I found this company that makes decals for garage doors. Like they cover the whole thing, and they're like super detailed, so it can look like there's a Sherman tank parked in a garage when the door's closed. It's there's another one where there's like if you have two doors, it looks like there's an off-road dump truck like parked back in the back of your shop, but each door also like the front and the back. They're really cool. They're like $348 for the sticker, but you got to remember it's like 9 foot by 8 foot or whatever. But makes me really want one of those.
That's pretty cool. No one would ever see it. So
you would, Aaron. You'd see it.
I would. Yeah. Well, like I've mentioned in the past, I'm gonna once I finish building the interior of the shop, I'm gonna be doing a bunch of painting. I'm gonna paint it the Gulf livery color, so baby blue and orange, and I'm gonna put like a meatball somewhere with my old car racing number 11 on there. So, yeah, gonna get some stuff hung up in there, get it painted, make it look sweet, and mount a TV and get a leather love seat so that if I sit on it with dirty stuff, it's not going to get dirty like a cloth one.
You know what you really need to get for that shop?
And I'm going to drag the PS3 out there
and offer so a stand-up arcade machine. Would look super awesome in there.
It definitely would. Now that I'm making big boy dollars, maybe I'll do that.
Split it with you. I'll do 250. You do 250. We'll take your wife's truck up and grab it, and we'll just do you get the winter time. I get the summertime. Like we'll go half and half.
Oh my! I am so tempted right now, Coy. I'm so tempted.
More than half.
The best part is like we could pick it up and be like, we're taking it to Coy's for the Pumpkin Spice party, and like then I would just drop it off at your house, like on one of your gun shooting things that you always win in the spring. Like I could bring it up, but like Aaron, I'm selling it to Aaron. And then next year you could be like, oh yeah, he brought it over. Pumpkin Spice Party was a big hit last time, and we could keep this going. For 4 or 5 years at least.
Oh man! All right, talk to me after the show. The good news is that right now she's in a meeting, so I know she's not watching the show and being aware of our plans.
Okay, I'll try not to talk about it anymore. I'll live.
Oh man, Ben, tell me you've done something.
No, I haven't done crap. I've been so busy. I started my new route today, and I've just been dealing with family stuff and all that. So kind of sucks. I've been boring lately, but tis the way things go sometimes. I've moved stuff around so I could get the 4Runner in the shop and start working on the wheels and the bead locks and extracting stuff. And I went out to the 4Runner today to grab my sunglasses, and it was like, oh, yeah, hey, your battery's still good. That's good. So, yeah.
We got Rick's approval.
Yep.
Yeah. We're golden if we got Rick's approval. Rick will probably even come over and play it.
I'll let my wife know that Rick said it was okay.
I am driving my wife's truck to work tomorrow, which is from here. That's like halfway to White Salmon, isn't it?
I don't even know where White Salmon is. I just Googled it, and it's like 2 hours away. And I'm like, my wife was gone for a full day. I could do it without her knowing.
You go up to Vancouver, and then you head east on Highway 14 for a while.
Well, here's what you guys do: I bet you guys could talk them down another $100.
I think it started at like 700. It's been on for like 3 months, so I think we could.
Possible.
That's $200 each, Aaron. Man, 200 cheezels. I've spent it on way dumber stuff.
I know.
I know. I've done 200 over the years.
Maybe the podcast can buy it for us. We'll use all of our podcast money that we've been earning.
Yeah.
All millions of dollars.
That's about
just been rolling.
And you're gonna have to throw your share in as well to cover this.
Well, you're gonna have to bring it up here then too.
Yeah. We also want to thank our sponsor, Patriot Patch. Head over to patriotpatch.co and check out their selection of great patches, shirts, cleaning mats, signs, and stickers. You can also join the Patch of the Month Club for $15 and receive a patch, matching sticker, and artist proof each month. Well, since this is our last podcast, we figured we'd talk about what it's like running a podcast, things we liked and didn't like about it, things we've got to do because of it, places we've gone, people we've met, our favorite stuff, and some of our futures. So we're just gonna kind of kick it down the line here, and no particular order of talking, just kind of whatever spills out. But we're gonna talk about how hard is it to run a podcast. And you might want to know this because we do have some people that are interested in picking up the torch and running with it. So Coy and I were talking about this on our way home tonight from work. We chat every single day. Every day we call each other. We got nicknames. We talk to each other on the phone when we call. It's a lot of fun. And just think that would have never happened if I had never been on this podcast. No, we don't really call each other every day, and the nicknames we have for each other aren't cute
or nice
or PG-13.
Let's see. How hard is it to do? I was just going to mention what we do to prepare for a show. Some shows, actually, prior to that, I'm going to say some shows that I listen to, and I listen to a wide variety of podcasts. Some people do zero work up front. They pop on the show and whatever's in their brain is what they talk about for that show. And then other people will do hours and hours and hours of research because it's a very specific topic and they interview people for their show. And so it may take a 40-hour week of grinding to produce some people's weekly podcasts. For us, it's somewhere in the middle of that. And it also kind of depends on the show. But if it's a topical topic, we do a bunch of research on it. If it's an interview, we try to research the company or the person that we're interviewing so that we can ask good questions. It's never fun to have somebody on the show and not know anything about their background. And then you're like, well, what else should we ask you? And things like that. So research is a big deal. I felt like it made our show pretty top quality.
I've really always been against inviting someone on and asking them, what should we ask you about? I will ask guests, and I've always asked guests, hey, is there anything new or something you want us to pinpoint in during this interview? Because, hey, we're using your time to our benefit, but it's also our own benefit. So it's like, hey, oh, you've got this new product. You want us to make sure we cover this. We're going to look at other things too, but we will make sure we highlight this. Because,
there's been a few episodes like the Land Cruiser, the new Tacoma, like where it's like all of us do at minimum 10 hours of like video, and we're sending each other like YouTube videos. It's an insane amount of research to just spit that all out like it.
Yeah.
In articles, videos, you're burning through it. The one that I spend the most time on besides those, I think, is our hypothetical road trips and our like marketplace madness and our like fake because I'm like, I gotta have something better. Like I'm on marketplace for 4 hours, I'm researching, we're doing Alaska one, so it's like next thing I know, throughout the week I've spent 23 hours like doing my hypothetical build. I hope the listeners liked those. They were a lot of work, but I always enjoyed our hypothetical road trips. And sometimes I wish we did them more often, but they're just so labor intensive to come up with all this fake stuff that you would do. Because you kind of have to plan half a trip in real life.
Yeah.
And then you do this fake build and you're like running parts and you got to kind of a budget and stuff.
Here's a little behind the scenes. There was one time one of our interviews didn't show up and we didn't know it until it was 5 minutes before the show was supposed to start, and we're still trying to get home. And that episode we did how to poop in the woods for our episode, and we, pun intended, whipped it out in like 5 or 8 minutes before the show started. We just made that episode happen, and that's an easy enough one to do off the top of your head, or maybe I should say from the seat of your pants.
We did off-road lighting. I don't remember what happened, but we burned that out in less than an hour.
Yeah, there's been a handful of episodes that we've done over the years where it was literally guests canceled last minute or no showed, and it's like, oh, we need to figure this out. And for a while there, we would have a pre-made planned podcast that was not too bad to pull out. But there's been a handful of times over the years where it's just like, oh, we've got to come up with something. I remember when I had worked a month and a half on getting someone on the show, and they canceled 2 hours before the show because we're on the Firearms Radio Network, and they were worried about their sponsors. And I'm like, we're not even asking you firearms related questions. We're just a Pro 2A podcast. So yeah, that one really burned me deep inside.
I think probably on average, and probably I shouldn't say average, at minimum, I'm 4.5 hours a week into the show. Sometimes a lot more, sometimes a little less, but never much less. I should say. I don't think.
Occasionally, are you including coming on a half hour before the show, staying a half hour late after the show in that 4.5 hours?
Oh, I wouldn't. Anytime I spend after the show talking to you guys, that's just me hanging out with friends in my mind. The hour before the show, I count. I get probably the most work done when I could just sit down here. Usually I'm here first, kind of, and I can just I'll get left alone for some reason. My wife knows I come in here at 6 an hour before, and I just get left. I can do an incredible amount of work in that hour for some reason. So
yep. It's about the same for me as Coy. Sometimes a little more, rarely any less, like he's saying. We would spend time not only on the topic, but trying to find news stories that were relevant. And a lot of times it was tough finding relevant news stories, or you find something that looks good, you save it, and then when you go to open the news story, you read it and it's just hot garbage or all speculation or a waste of time. I bet you 20% of the news articles that I've maybe 15% that I had planned to do, I had to just say, no, it isn't going to work, or it's just not relevant, or it's too boring. So news stories were difficult. And then processing all that information and deciding, well, what do we share to the listeners and what don't we share? So yeah.
And then I don't know about you guys, but I have a specific like notepad in my phone that's just off-road podcast show ideas throughout the week. I'll be like, oh, I want to bring this up. I'll put that in there. Just thoughts about certain things. Like you're just working or something and something pops up and you're always kind of thinking about the show, you're always, and the other part about, how hard it is, you go on vacation. You're like, all right, guys, I'll be back by Monday. I'm not going to be back by Monday. We got to figure out a show that's good for just the two of you or the two of us, however we're doing it. Like, so you got to think about your co-hosts all the time. You try not to just leave on those Mondays.
Yep. Trying if you're not going to be there, having someone to step in to help cover. I mean, Coy, that was you for a while when Jeremy was first leaving us or going on leave.
Yeah, I guess for on and off for like a year. So
yeah.
Guy Dave says we're relatively new to the podcasting realm. He does the Let's Go Hunt podcast. It's a lot more work than what most people think. We've got pages of backlog topics that we've had to come up with for the slow times. Plow Guy Dave, in 5 years, you will have burned through all of those, and you will just sit there doing everything that your 98 IQ brain can, not yours, I'm talking about mine, can to try and force out another episode.
Yeah.
when you start rolling back. So
another thing that sucks up a lot of time is if we're trying to get somebody on the podcast and emailing back and forth, reaching out to people, reaching out to vendors,
calling them and getting them on the phone.
We'll talk about that a little later, but
there's a lot of that to do.
Work getting these interviews than people think.
Yeah. I've got a document on my phone that I put ideas and stuff in, or I'll just, we've got a group chat, and sometimes I'll just message in an idea there, or I've done a few times like just voice things like, oh, I have time to say it, but I don't have time to write it. And because sometimes it's in one ear, out the mouth once, and it's gone. It does not stay.
There's also anything that we choose to do on social media, which we've been lacking for the past quite a while now. But like, anytime we want to share something there or try to create content, that also adds up. So it can be as little as you want, or it can be a full-time job. So
I listen to almost every episode, not as much in the last couple months, but like, and I've done other podcasts in this one before, but I try to religiously listen to every episode, which gets to be work at a certain point.
Yeah.
Especially once you've kind of found your rhythm and you kind of know where you're at as a podcast host. But that's just like another, you're just driving. I listen to a ton of podcasts. I guess it's not that bad, but it's like you're listening to it. You're always critiquing yourself. And that's like another couple hours, like that you're into it.
In something you guys don't have as much, not backside work on, is getting the show up. I spend an hour to 2 getting the podcast out every week. Before I got Adobe and I was editing, I would spend upwards of 6 hours a week editing. Not posting, just editing alone. That's dropped down significantly, thankfully, but it's still a chunk of time.
There's definitely a learning curve to editing. I've seen people take hours, and I've seen guys do it in 15 minutes. There's definitely also like something podcasting we've all learned, like if you say a bad word and we try to run a clean show, there's certain ways to make the editing easier where you stop and you pause and then you just start over again, so that Ben has a little bit of time to snip that piece out where everybody's being quiet on each end. You start over with the exact same thought, so that it can sound seamless to the downloaded interview or audio listeners.
I've actually gotten pretty good at, even if it doesn't happen, and we mark it down in the notes at what time in the episode it happened. Like we're at 33 minutes and 13 seconds, and I say, F this. I can find that if it's marked in. I just have to listen around, jump around, and then I can take out the F and just make it this. And it's just good enough.
Well, let's jump into some of the comments and complaints we've got through the years. This is honestly my favorite one personally. K2 Kevin, don't know who this is. He gave us a 1-star review on iTunes, and the most confusing review I've ever had. I like the 1-star, like, because everybody just goes 5 or 4, but 1 star, it doesn't bother me that I get, because nobody's so bad it's a 1-star review. It's the 3-star review where they're like, hey, they used to be better. 3 stars. Then I'm like hurt.
That hurts.
It's the ones where they're like, I liked it, and it's like they do kind of a fair assessment. I'm like, yeah, he meant it. But this one, it was 1 star. And he says, good information and often provides interesting off-road industry news. They are a very liberal podcast, which I guess doesn't matter. 1 star.
I remember being so offended at this.
I just like that, like, overall, that's a pretty good review. Like, he didn't say it was bad. He's like, very informative, often provides interesting off-road industry news. 1 star. So I like that.
Yeah.
And I love that we're on the Firearms Radio Network, and we're clearly super liberal.
Yeah, liberal. So liberal. You've got 2 American flags on your body right now.
We're so liberal that we also don't cuss on here, because we're so liberal. We keep it, so liberal.
Yeah, that one's always gotten me. This next one, it says, great podcast. Makes me want to go out and build and wheel your rig. Sometimes it'll make you feel bad for Ben. Might need to start a new rig fund for Ben. They have great information and love when they have people in the off-road industry on.
And the one I picked here, this one I really like. It says, great topics. Nice to find off-road content for the common man. Not everyone can afford 60s and 40s and a brand new rig. Love the camp stories and honest reviews. Keep up the good work. So that one hits home because listen, I'm driving a budget Toyota. That's the rig I have. I couldn't afford a Toyota when it came time to buy it. I ended up with the Nissan. But that rig,
fake Toyotas. You can just say
fake Toyota. It's not not budget.
I wouldn't say budget. Just say fake.
Okay, Ben's driving a budget Toyota. I've got a fake Toyota.
Mine is definitely a budget Toyota.
Ben's driving the Recon Title Toyota.
Yeah. But we're making do. We're wheeling them. Like, I just got back from Moab with Coy. We were gone for 10 days and we did common man stuff, but we beat the crap out of our rigs every single day we wheeled them. And
that's the whole reason I haven't built like a giant rig, is just for you listeners. It's the only reason I'm not on 42. I just wanted like an average kind of overland build. That's why I don't have an all steer buggy. So I just want you guys to know that you've been holding me back. Now that I'm not podcasting, I'm going to take all this energy and money saved and just build a bouncer or something. It's because what I can afford, what I like, and we podcast this kind of stuff because that's what we're into. So,
I mean, that's
Travis says, "Great value Toyota."
Great value Toyota.
Inexpensive.
Yeah.
It's fun. I think that got posted around the time Jeremy was building his Jeep on 40s after his front axle bent.
Yeah. Plow Guy Dave absolutely will come on. I'll tell you all of my fun shooting animal stories. Let's jump forward to
I'm pretty sure I'm gonna sell all my podcast gear and see if I can trade it for off-road challenge arcade machine, but see what I can get for a board, some mics.
Man, that hurts Montana Dirt Roads. He says Nissan is like a Japanese Dodge. I'll have you know, in Australia, Nissan is like the top dog. The Patrol it's up there, if not better than the Land Cruiser in Australia. Maybe because they're upside down, they don't know what they're doing down there. I can't tell you for sure.
I haven't seen any Patrols on National Geographic. I'll throw that out there. And also, isn't Mitsubishi the Japanese Dodge? Like, that's a thing, right?
That's true. That's true. It's a DSM. Favorite things about doing the podcast. For me, it's the places that I've gotten to go and the things I've got to do. I went to SHOT Show because of this podcast. I won't talk about the other stuff because we've got another thing to talk about, but I got to go to SHOT Show. That's how liberal I am. I went to SHOT Show. I was there to boycott guns. I was there with Moms Demand Action. Not really. SHOT Show is amazing, but like some great people that we've met also. So that's some of my favorite things.
My favorite thing is I love coming on here for an hour plus every week and roasting Ben. It just, I have a lot of stress at work. Like, I'm a foreman. I got crews. I got bosses yelling at me, and just every Monday, and Mondays are never good days. I just get to come on here and absolutely trash Ben. And he just holds his arms out and just gives me free shots. So that's been one of my favorite parts. He's been my personal crash dummy. So, but I love you, Ben.
Love you too, buddy.
Or do I? But for reals, not joking. The friendships and adventures that I've made and had, and I honestly wouldn't have had these without being part of the podcast, and I wouldn't have experienced a lot of this. Like, I was a listener originally, Apparently other people like me roasting Ben as well.
I work with Jeff, and it's
Okay.
the same at work as it is here. So
Yeah, so he knows what I'm
Perfect,
talking about. Like it's even on days where like I've been too mean to Ben, I have to stop now. I'm at his probably roasting limit, and then he just sticks his neck out for some more, and I can't help myself.
Yeah.
But honestly, I would have never experienced so much. Like I was a listener. I interacted with you guys. We'd go back and forth. I eventually came on as a listener ride. Me and Aaron became friends. He moved fairly close to me. We started off-roading together. We did trips together. I did trips with Ben. Then I guest hosted, became closer friends with you guys. We did more trips. We did more things. And then like, we've been to, me and Aaron have been to Moab, to Colorado, to Nevada, like. And then I've met listeners like Josh came from Ohio, a bunch of your friends that you kind of met through podcast stuff that then I've met through you that like it's just a crazy butterfly effect of people and friends I've made all from this podcast. So,
to be fair, I kind of do bring it onto myself.
No, that's exactly what I'm saying. Like I don't even like making fun of you, Ben. I don't want to, but
sure.
I can't help myself. You just run around with your lunch money in your hands, and then I just bully you. Put it in your pocket.
Put it in your pocket.
Wow. Put it in my pocket. Man, my favorite thing literally has been the friends and the contacts that I've made. It's been amazing getting noticed as that podcast guy locally. Oh, you're that guy that does that podcast. And I mean, having the baby poop yellow 4Runner or the camouflage 4Runner, it's not hard to get noticed. And, I'm always out there talking to people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Andy and Mercedes. Coy and I were just talking about you on our drive home today, about the times we've had you on the show. So, and not just this show, you've also been on the previous shows that Coy was doing. So,
yeah, it's been crazy the amount of people that I've gotten to make friends with that otherwise wouldn't have happened. Aaron lived in Puyallup, probably would have never met Aaron. We ran slightly different circles. Coy, same with you. I mean, a whole nother state away. And the funny thing is the picture that's behind Coy right here was a picture I took at the first time I went to the Northwest Overland Rally of the cooking competition they had. And there's Coy.
That's my wife, my mother-in-law, and then myself, and we're in the middle of the Overland Cook Challenge.
Yeah.
And Ben just like 2 days ago was like, "Hey, I just found this picture. That's you." And I'm like, "Holy crap!" And I didn't know Ben. Like,
yeah, actually,
crazy.
I think that was the year that you tried finding me and you sent me a message the podcast a message on Facebook. And you'd flipped over my awning after I had got blown over during the wind. Like you were using a picture.
I looked for you like 3 years in a row, and you were always not there. So, like you would be there.
ADD. I'm everywhere.
He would post pictures and stuff, and then I would try and find him by the pictures. But
it's like, where's Waldo? Maybe I need to get that outfit. Fat.
Let's talk about stuff we didn't like.
The pay.
Yeah, who put that in there? Who put that in there? That's so good. The pay has not been good. It has not been good.
There's
I
really
didn't expect it to be good, but I am disappointed with the money I've made. We always joked, when somebody did something wrong that we were going to cut their pay because we cut it in half, or while I doubled Aaron's pay at one point. I can't say we've made nothing, but it's not.
I got some free patches out of the deal. How about that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Blue Tread sent us all some stuff. Our sponsors have sent us some stuff.
Yeah.
We've done a little bit here and there. And, it's kind of like gold panning. I used to gold pan a lot. Once you figure your equipment and, all the gear you take and gas and stuff, and then all the labor just shoveling out a riverbank for hours every weekend, you make a good 30, 40 cents an hour. And then you got to cut your fuel and stuff out of that. And podcasting is same way. Like, yeah, you make money, but by the time you back out your gear, your laptop, I have a kind of a dedicated room in my house. Semi dedicated room.
Yeah.
Soundboard, microphone.
And, you know,
yeah.
The fact that your wife complains every time and stuff
every week.
Yeah, the pay's not awesome.
Yeah.
Especially if she's home.
Another thing, and I hinted at this earlier, is that trying to wrangle people sometimes is really frustrating. There's been times where you've emailed back and forth with somebody for weeks, even months, or have tried for years. There was one that it took several years to get them on our show. It's a lot of work, but some of those never pan out, and you'll have 22 emails back and forth with somebody.
What do you think the percentages of emails sent versus guests on is?
No, I would say that
10 to 1.
25. We probably get 25% of the 100% we put out. We collect 25%.
I'd say we collect closer to 10.
You think it's less than 25%?
I mean, the amount of messages I've sent to companies, and I know Coy has, and I know you have, I've sent a lot.
I think it's 10 to 1 or so. Like,
okay. All right.
It could be more, could be less.
Yeah.
But I'm counting the ones.
It's really poor.
I'm counting the ones where they reply and you're like, hey, here's a couple dates. What would you like? And then just nothing. And like those dates are getting close. You're like, hey, what's up? And then they're maybe like, oh, sorry. Can we do another one? And then like, seems like a lot of times you go, and then I don't know, that marketing guy quits and goes to a new job because those jobs got, and like, then that email's no longer valid. Or I've emailed and they're like, oh, hey, yeah, no, we're going to forward this to our marketing guy. This is really cool. We really like the idea of this. And then nothing. There's been, I'm going to name drop a company, not in shade, but just to explain. There's a company called Apex Designs. They make really cool, like air down valves and some anti-sway bar stuff. And I emailed them, I Instagrammed them. I couldn't get any reply. So I finally just called them because I've kind of fanboyed this company for a while and I really wanted them on. And the dude was like, you're a what? I'm like, you know what a podcast is? And he's like, no. I'm like, oof. It's kind of like an online talk show. And we'd love to have you on and talk about your product. He's like, what's in it for you? And I was like, free content, like, and you get to advertise, like, it's cool. It's like a mutual thing. Like it's free. And he's like, yeah, I'll talk to the owner. Which you could tell. It was like, that guy never heard of a podcast before. I'm assuming he just assumed I was a scammer. Like, done. Gone.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I can relate to that so much, Coy. I've had a few of those talks and convincing them to come on. And then actually, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and say it. The literally, this is the one thing that pissed me off the most was I worked a month and a half, 2 months on getting Ivan the Iron Man Stewart. And the night before, 30 minutes before the show, he canceled because he was worried about his sponsors being upset with him because we're on the Firearms Radio Network.
Yeah.
So that is now burned.
You know, it'd be cool if we had him on, though.
And then he went on the Jeep Talk Show a month later.
You know, it'd be cool if we had him on. We could talk about the stand-up arcade game, the Off-Road Challenge.
Oh, that was in my questions.
All his vehicles are in there. Yeah.
I sent them every question that we had planned on asking, just to be like, hey, this is what we're talking about. And it would have been, like, there's no questions related to guns in here. Like, and there was other things I was even willing to bend and flex within my abilities to help. And I was pretty much just showing the middle finger and right back at you now. So, I don't care anymore.
Places and events we got to attend. Or wait, do we have one more thing to talk about and things we didn't like? I guess we might as well. I'll do this one. The one thing that actually bugged me the most, and this is probably more a me problem. Like, this is my childhood trauma or something coming through. lack of show participation. And I'm not dogging on our listeners. We've had a great listener base. But so difficult to like judge where you're at and how you're doing just watching your download numbers. And we get a decent amount of activity in the comments, but then we'd post a video on the Facebook page and it'd just be like the same couple guys commenting.
Two people like it, one person comments.
And I just craved more like listener interaction so badly, and it's so hard to get. It's not our listeners. I think every show that's like this is probably that way. And then like we've said, it's our last episode, and there's a bunch of people like, oh dang, I listen every week, and I'm like, I've never seen your profit on anything before. Like,
yeah.
So that always burned me, but that's, I've had other podcasts, like that's just part of podcasting. You don't get that interaction with your fan base or listener base or whatever you want to call it. So that's something that sucks about podcasting. Like if you're like me and you need that kind of personal interaction, it's really tough sometimes.
Yeah, it is. I can remember a giveaway where we only had like 36 people enter in on it. And it's like, hey, this is a good amount of product here. And like, I don't know if it was like Facebook drowning it out or what, but it's like,
yeah.
It's frustrating, but
I listen to probably 20 podcasts pretty regularly, and I'm the same way. They're always like, oh, hey, we're doing this. Just call in or email. I don't do any of that. I listen to their podcast for free. I'm like, oh, I love this podcast. And then I absolutely don't interact at all. Like,
yeah,
I interacted with this podcast. That's kind of how I got here. But yeah. I love you too, Rick, even though you didn't come to with us.
And
totally send our invite.
Yeah.
And hurt my feelings forever.
and yes, Pete, you were stuck.
All right. Places, events we got to attend. We got in Northwest Overland Rally.
Several times.
Which I don't know if any of you have been to rallies lately. They are not cheap to go to anymore. So those press passes are nice. That's a nice little, it's not pay, but it's a nice perk, man. Those press passes. Love them.
We got Aaron and I and Jeremy got to do a tour of Warren Industries.
That was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun, and I'm sure I've heard the average guy can get it done too, but just to be able to go and do it, and
the average guy cannot.
Well, not the average guy, but
no,
it's doable from what I've heard.
You have to actually apply and get a job there, and then you can.
Yes, that's how the average guy. Yeah,
but
do not call Warren and ask for a tour. That's not. They won't. They will not do it.
Probably not. Anyways, but we got a tour around Warren, and we also got to record while we were there inside Warren, which was kind of fun.
Yeah.
And Aaron, you've got to go to secret Warren testing grounds and do secret Warren things, right?
That's have. Yes. I've done it twice. They actually called me back for a third time, but it was the day we were leaving for Moab. And so I sent him a text. I'm like, hey, not going to make it. I'd really like to retest, because they wanted me to come out and they made some changes. They wanted me to retest. But listen, I'm going to Moab. Bring that product to Moab. We'll test it there while I'm there. Let's make this happen. And he's like, I'd love to. I don't think we can make that happen though. So yeah. Badland Industries bumped into Ben and I at SEMA. That was super cool. Walking through a hall and someone being like, Aaron and Ben.
Yeah.
What's up?
That was
and
out of this world.
Like, how in the world is somebody in 3 states away from me calling me by name in a place with 17 million people in it? So yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah,
thank you. That always scares the crap out of me, because I know I'm not going to risk. Like when I was at Pacific Northwest Overland or Pacific Northwest Rally or Overland Expo, there was multiple times people like, hey, Coy, and I'm like, oh, I'm not going to remember this person's face right off, and I like turn around like, oh, okay, I like did this internal sign like I know exactly who you're. Okay, there was a couple that I was like,
that was my secret power at SEMA. being able to be like, oh, that's so and so from, we had them on this episode, and they work for this company, and Aaron's just like, well, I'm glad you know their name and their backstory.
Yep. And then, like I mentioned earlier, I got to go to SHOT Show. I could only do that because of my podcasting credentials with the Firearms Radio Network. So, how about some other podcasts that we were able to go on?
Yeah,
I'm going to kick off a couple here. Boost, Booze, and Barbecue. I was on that show.
Yeah.
I was not on the show prior to that. Or no, maybe
Horsepower
no.
Hour.
I was on the Horsepower Hour. I was not on. I don't think I was on Boost, Booze, and Barbecue.
I was on Boost, Booze, and Barbecue, I believe.
I definitely wasn't on Pardon My Fork. Ben, you were on the Jeep Talk Show?
Yep, I was on the Jeep Talk Show. I was on This Week in Guns, Civilian Medical Podcast, Matter of Facts Podcast. I believe you were on
all
that
of us.
one.
I think all of us were on that one. Yeah.
Air 15 Podcast, Gun and Gear Review. I was a guest on once or twice.
Yeah, me too.
And then Newfound Overland / Budget Overland. And,
yeah, we did that a few times.
And you guys were on Let's Go Hunt?
Yeah. No, only Koi has been on Let's Go Hunt.
Oh,
they've been on our show.
Okay.
They've been on our show, but they
I
are
was gone.
talking. Yeah,
they only really like
about
to have.
having us on the show.
They only like to have like good podcasters on their show, so they're a little more.
Well, you know, the funny thing is, I've never been hunting. I've got all the stuff set to go hunting, and I've still yet to go.
He kills a lot of small animals in the neighborhood, usually with poison.
Poison, you know, BB guns, paintball guns.
BB guns, yeah.
That's I looked at that review earlier today where you guys got in trouble for talking about killing squirrels, and somebody was like a dedicated listener, and they like wrote in the review something about it. So
yeah, I remember that because Aaron was talking about shooting ground squirrels, which I've done ground squirrel. I guess I've hunted once. I've killed ground squirrels down in Oregon, but not like big game. So
yeah, we're currently not shooting the squirrels. I had a little misfire on the farm. I shot my brother-in-law's picnic table, so we're now trapping them. Hard to believe that I missed, by the way. Really hard to believe.
I've seen the way you win those competitions, so I can't believe that you, after making those shots, would shoot a picnic table by accident.
You know,
so now we're trapping them and drowning them. So way more humane than just
Aaron,
having your head explode.
You know what we should do is I should come down with a cannon, and we could use some.
You want to put flares? A squirrel in the cannon?
No, we just put above their nests, you know, one of those targets holding some road flares, and we'll fire some spray cans at it.
The problem is that they're underground, usually burrowed under my house.
Oh, well, I'm saying just when they come out of the ground, as they pop out, just chow, you know.
Yeah, we have had fun with your cannon on my property before.
Oh yeah,
yep. That's it for that. How about some people that we've met because of the show? And I'm not thinking about like ordinary people. I guess I didn't look at this in the show notes here because you got Rick in here, Ryan.
Oh, I was just thinking all the listeners and stuff. Like,
no,
I was thinking like show because who are you thinking?
Like famous people.
Let's see, Ian from Big Tire Garage.
Yeah. Jesse Combs,
Andy from Warren.
Mm-hmm. Hey, something.
Jeez,
Dave. I believe it's Dave from King of the Hammers. That was kind of a.
That was a rowdy episode
for me. That was, you guys don't know this. That was an incredible amount of work to get him on. Like,
yes, it was.
We worked on that on and off for 8 months, and then we didn't know.
No, that King of Hammers one took several years.
Like, it was a big deal.
Several years. Mm-hmm.
Getting
how about Tate
Gambler 500 guys. I'm gonna say this, Bobby from CVT.
Yeah,
Which-
Bobby.
Bobby
Absolutely.
now is a friend, and like he
Yep.
called me tonight. You know,
And then there's ordinary people like Rick
yeah,
that we've
I
met.
gotta say, because of the show, I connected with Aaron and Ben, and Jeremy. You three were hosts. Without
Yeah.
the show, I would never connected with you and never would have become a host. And then, you guys connected with me because of the show. Would have never known me without the show.
Once the show's over, we could stop pretending and we don't have to be friends anymore, which is going to be amazing.
I'm never gonna talk to
I'll
you
have,
again.
I'll have to put any more energy into this after the pumpkin spice party and the Iron Man 4x4 Stewart arcade game. But after that, we're done.
Yeah, I was slumming with a Nissan guy and a rubber Toyota guy.
Yeah, I made Pete became one of my best friends because of this show. And internationally speaking, Ronnie Dahl, would have never met him, would have never made any of our Australian friends like Brent.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cool to be friends with people internationally. Dan Grech, just kind of meet people all around the world. What was his name? Navi? No. He was doing Europe in his Toyota Tacoma.
Oh, I don't remember that one. But how about Patty Upton?
Patty Upton, yeah.
Yep.
Legend.
One of those stories with Patty Upton driving around the world where I'm like, why isn't this a movie? It would be
I'm waiting. That needs to be a movie.
And you wouldn't even have to fake stuff where you're getting hypothermia, the Nile, malaria, and taking train rides. It's insane. That could be a Netflix series easily.
Yeah.
Eric Ewers.
Yep, that guy. Yeah. It's been kind of cool because some of the connections we made led to other connections. Patty Upton was through
Brendan's Garage.
He said, hey, you've got to interview her. And it's just we've had a lot of those connections, or even he's got that other Anthony.
Thank you, Andy. Anthony Ellison. Yeah, Mighty Jimny.
Which he is now. I think I told you guys about this. He is now on TV in Australia with Ronnie Dahl.
I didn't know that.
Oh, okay, well, I
always assume it's easy to get on TV in Australia. I've seen some Australian TV programming shows, and I'm like, man, your guys' bar is low.
Oh my goodness,
Alex Jones would be prime time, late night TV there.
Ouch.
He might be. Yeah.
Some of the other people that I've met through this show. So Rick,
Scott Brady,
Snodgrass in the comments, I met solely through the show, through you guys. The other Rick, also met him through the show.
Yeah.
Ryan from Alaska.
Yeah.
Ben, you haven't met him at all, so
no,
we're not talking about you. But me and Aaron and myself totally met him from the show. Super cool.
Real quick, I need to thank Ryan so very much for meeting us and also giving us the statistics that it cost him $4,300 in fuel. Because today, when my wife was talking to me about how much my trip to Moab cost, I'd be like, but listen, the guy from Alaska, he paid $4,300 just in gas alone. So it could have been worse. So thank you very much, Ryan, for providing that number. It brought the threat level down, talking finances with my wife. It was amazing.
Eric Ewers points out that breakdancers in Australia, so that kind of right with the TV thing I said. It's not high bar. So Ryan, and then Ohio Josh commented a lot on the show. He doesn't anymore because he has a job.
Like a big boy.
So apparently, even though on the last show he
couldn't make it for our last show.
Stay up a little late on Monday night.
Whatever.
Well, you got a job and your wife's pregnant and you're having a life, but whatever. I get it. So he came to Northwest wanting to meet us and camp with us, and all of us couldn't. And then he just came to our houses anyways. He was like, hey man, I'm coming through Oregon and I need to work on my truck. And I'm like, bring it on.
Yeah. He called me up and he's like, hey, I know we were supposed to do this and you skipped out on it, but can I come to your house and work on my rig? I'm like, yeah, go for it.
I'm always curious. Like, he never really said. There was some joking, but like, what a tough sell to your wife, you know? Like, hey, there are these guys I listen to on the internet, and we're gonna camp with them when we get on the other side of America.
Well, so
I'm just imagining my wife, like, have you met these people before? No, but they're cool guys. Like,
They sound great. Yeah.
I
know what they look like. And then we're like, hey man, we got too much going on. We can't camp this weekend. And he's like, well, just don't worry, babe. We'll go to their house. Like, I'll just go. I got guys. I know a guy. And then he's just like, hey. And he comes up like, his wife the whole time has just been like, what is this? What is my husband doing?
She's probably stressed out of her mind. Dan Cole is another great one.
First. She met Ben first. I want to point that out.
So fortunately for her, my wife was home. So my wife's like, would you like to take a shower and use our shower and all that? And like, hey, you guys can run a load of laundry and all that. So yeah, it was, fortunately, there was at least a female presence there along with my big, hairy, scary self to ease it a little bit. And I'm like, hey, you can sleep in my garage. I won't hang your bodies from the rafters.
I had a puppy at the time, so that's like, that goes a long ways. You could lure people with a puppy. I'll get any van. There's puppies in there, especially if it's a hound. I'm in. I'm jumping in that van. And then Oregon Josh. I would have never met him without Josh or Aaron having met him. Like,
I would have never met him without the podcast either. That was a guy I put a business card on a window.
Yeah.
So.
And I'm probably missing some here. And like, I want to do an honorable mention. On our Instagram, there's a guy named Steve Clark. He's from Oregon. From what I understand, he has religiously sent us videos to watch for years. And then he also sends me some Pumpkin Spice stuff every once in a while. Like, so I know he listens. Like, he just recently like showed me a whole row of beer. He's like, it's in McMinnville. And I'm like, I don't know who you are, dude, but you listened and I care about you. So
it's in McMinnville. How close does he live to us?
I don't know, man. I didn't have any way of knowing how close he lived to us. And then until at one point, there was something else Pumpkin Spice that he sent me, and I'm like, ooh, I want that. And he's like, it's at the Walmart on 82nd in Portland. I'm like, oh, he's local.
Yeah.
So thank you, Steve Clark, for being a listener.
I've been to that Walmart. I wouldn't go there to pick $100 bill up off the ground, just so you know.
Well,
that's not a good Walmart.
Bend at the knees, not the waist.
Yeah. Let's talk about our favorite shows real quick. Are you not done?
I'm pretty well done. Like, I was gonna say there's been a lot of people that message us over the years. We've had a lot of good conversations with emails. We've gone back and forth. I don't remember all your names, guys. I'm sorry. Even just this weekend, somebody messaged me. I appreciate it. And I've enjoyed all these interactions. Favorite shows. Ben, what's your favorite show ever?
You know, I did a lot of reflecting, and I was scrolling through every episode that's on my computer that I've ever edited. And that goes, I started editing, let's see, what is this episode? I don't even have the earliest episodes on here. I started editing with the first interview I ever did, which was that flag company. Oh my goodness. Oh, I'm blanking on it. They do custom flags for your CB antennas. And they even gave away one. So
I don't remember either, but yeah. So what was your favorite episode?
But I'm gonna have to go with was it episode 141. So you can't even find it in our archives. It's our interview with Bobby from CVT. It was a fun interview, and looking back at it, it was what I always wanted to do with the podcast from the get-go was interviews with companies and really let the listeners hear what is so great about the companies from their owners. Because I know for a fact, because Bobby messaged me a couple days after the episode went live that, hey, someone just bought a CVT tent from us because they heard us on the podcast and that sold the tent. And come to find out, it wasn't Jeremy who later told us about it. It was someone else. So we know that that episode sold at least 2 tents. So that was time well invested in Bobby, which he came on 2 times later afterwards.
Yeah, he's been on.
He's been on at least 3 times. Yeah,
at least 3 times, and he's doing more stuff as we speak. He's not with CVT anymore, and he just started a new rooftop tent company for your average guy. So I think it's really cool. That was kind of one of those things that hit me as I was looking back, because like Patty Upton, one of my favorite interviews that we've done too, as an honorable mention. But for what I wanted to do with interviews, starting it out right, that one has continued to be one of those ones that's what I wanted to do as a host for a show.
My favorite one was one that I poured my heart and soul into and did tons of research, and it was like a roundtable, and we had 6 guests on, the most we've ever had on, and it was the Great Diesel Debate, which was episode 345. If you want to go back and listen to it, so it was basically 3 people are for and 3 people are against having diesels as the engine of choice for your overland / off-road rig. And just to say that in real life, these people weren't for or against. It was just the side that they were placed in for this episode. And it was a lot of fun. It took a lot of planning to make sure that we weren't talking over each other in that episode, because with 6 people, it's really easy to with 3 people, it's easy to talk over each other.
Oh, yeah.
So
we came up with code signs and an order, and certain people, it was a whole, that was the whole show. Yeah.
That was a whole lot of work, and it was totally worth it. That was an amazing episode.
We had Scott Brady on that episode. That was the second time we've had him on the podcast. Andy was a part of that one. I can't remember who maybe Jeremy, and was Jeremy on that one?
I was on that one.
Yeah,
I know Coy was. Okay.
Coy was, Jeremy,
okay,
me, you, Scott Brady, and Andy.
Okay, that's what it was. So that was mine. How about you, Coy?
I got a couple, and I got ones I got favorites from before I was a host even. So
okay,
right. I loved the Metal Tech one back in the day. You guys, Mark can talk, and he's a good talker. Like, he's interesting.
Yeah, he can.
That was a 4-hour episode recording.
You guys did a 2-parter. It was so long, you split it in half, and I loved that episode. And it was funny because I had won the Overland cook-off competition, and he had the I can't remember what they're called, aprons. He had aprons that he made for the winners. And he never contacted me, but he lost my contact details. And on there, I don't know, he brought it up. You guys talked about it. He's like, if whoever won that's listening, like, I got your aprons. You just come get them. Like, anyways, I went and got my aprons. So I don't know if I've ever even told you guys that.
I haven't heard that story. That's awesome.
So if you go back and listen to that, he had said, like, hey, if anybody knows these guys, and I was like, I'm that guy. And I went in and I had actually told him, like, that I'd heard on the show. So after I became a host, one of my favorite episodes that I felt really good about was 378. We had AEV, American Expedition Vehicles. All you Jeep people know who that is.
That was a great episode.
I just loved it simply because, like, I felt like we'd arrived. Like, that's like semi. It's not OEM, but it's like OEM adjacent. So I felt really good about that. Obviously, Patty Upton was like. That was an incredible story. Like, I'll remember that story till I die.
Yeah.
And then the other one that I loved, 443 with Senator Mark Maynard.
That one
Oh,
was so
yeah.
much work.
I felt
was a
pretty
lot
good
of
about getting a
so
senator on the
worth
show.
it.
So
That was one where we exchanged emails, and then like the what were they? They were their intern. Like
Yeah.
that one fell through the cracks, but due to us being at SEMA and talking to people, they got us in contact, and then we got to meet Mark in person, which was really
Yeah.
cool. It kind of like that was one of those you've made it kind of feelings where like you
I-
had the contacts to get there.
I actually wrote that one off. Partly because I was really upset because we got ghosted. So they reached out to us. We didn't reach out to them. They reached out to us, want to be on the
He was
show.
listening to the podcast.
And I was like, okay, we can make this happen. So the email exchanges that went back and forth, and then dates picked, and then ghost. Nothing. Reached out, nothing. And several months later, we did hear something, but I'm like, up yours. You ghosted us when you were supposed to be on. I was so mad. And then when we went to SEMA, we heard that he was there. We met with him in person. Super cool guy. We found out the intern story, and then I was like, oh, forgiveness. I need to stop being so harsh. I can get my panties in a wad sometimes.
Yeah.
As you both know.
Oh yeah. Oh my goodness. It's like talking
So,
a guy
Aaron
off
gets his
of
little
the edge of
feelers
the
hurt
bridge.
sometimes. He
Yeah.
gets his feelings hurt and he stomps off to his
Yeah.
room.
I am
I
mad.
definitely can. I definitely can. But after I met him in person and we tried again, and that was a great episode. Who would
Yeah.
have known that guy that state senators have hobbies outside of taking people's money. So
And I just,
really
I don't
cool.
know a lot of other people who got to interview a state senator. So, and I've never got to mock a politician. I can't say to their face, but I got to work in a lot of quips and
yeah, that was good. That was good.
it was fun.
The best part was he really took him on the chin too. Like he enjoyed it because
I wasn't an a-hole about it or
no,
anything.
you weren't.
They're all above board. I had one. It's actually just saw it the other day in my notebook that I had lined up for him. Obviously, he's a Republican since he's into Wheeling. And I was like, hey, we just want to know right off the bat if you're pro-choice or not, because here on the show, we're pro-choice, and I think that and I wanted to kind of set it all up, and I don't remember how I had it written down, but I was like, we believe in select fire, and you should be able to choose semi-auto, full auto. So I really wanted to lead them on and think we were all ready for some abortion and try to get political, and then just turns out we like full auto guns.
Yeah,
I did let that one ride. It didn't work so good.
That one didn't. I wanted that one to happen, but it didn't work out. Yeah. Let's talk about shows that we wish we could have done or couldn't make happen, or for whatever reason they didn't happen. I wanted to do, like, everybody's doing like beer reviews, and you guys, I think you guys may have done one without me even. I wanted to do
an alcohol episode.
Alcohol use,
yeah. I want to do a root beer episode. You guys know I don't drink. I love root beer. Everybody should love root beer, except for people in Mexico. There's no root beer on the shelves down there. I thought a root beer review show would be a lot of fun. Like if everybody picked like 4 different unique root beers that they could find somewhere, and we could drink them on the show and talk about the tasting notes. I got that idea from the Boost Booze and Barbecue, where you guys did your tasting notes, because you'd always drink a different whiskey.
Yeah.
We tried hard to put together an RC crawler episode for you guys. That one we got ghosted on hard.
By Traxxas and Element.
Yeah. Cruiser Outfitters. This one was just one on the list that I'd planned to do. We never
hang on a second.
out.
I gotta address a comment. Montana Dirt Roads. You said you like root beer with alcohol in it. Try Southern Comfort in your root beer sometime. You're welcome. All right.
Well, I'm gonna address this AK Ford fan. He gave me a blueberry cream soda just a pop while we were working on his master. Well, not we were bleeding the master cylinder, and this is while we're in Utah, and that was the smoothest soda I've ever had. It was so good. I just pulled that picture up 2 nights ago, Saturday night it was, and I went onto their website. They're called like Lower 48 Brewing, I believe, and it looks like they don't sell it anywhere but Alaska. And I reached out to a friend in Anchorage, and she's like, her friend's brother is a owner of the store. Like, how crazy is it that I knew somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody? But they look like they make a lot of great things. If you want to pay to ship me 49th State Brewing. Sorry, I said 48th State. Sorry, I think that's Puerto Rico's a 48th Street. If you want to send me some, I won't stop you, but I'm sure shipping won't be very cheap, and hopefully they don't explode on the way down here. But if I ever
cheaper to drive down here and deliver them and go wheeling than drive back.
If I ever do make it to Alaska, I would plan to stock up on a bunch of that stuff. It was super tasty.
Aaron, I didn't really know that you wanted to do this so badly, because like that's so doable and I'm kind of like disappointed that we never did. Let's do this on our snow
episode.
Let's do a root beer review when we go snow camping.
Yeah.
I'll start buying fancy root beer, and we don't need to record it. I'll do tasting notes with you, like on the nose. I'm getting some of that sassafras, a lot of CO2 there on the tongue, and that finish, man, it's really coming in strong. That sweetness and that creaminess with notes of caramel. I'll go full tasting.
Can you taste the anus in this one? The anise, however you pronounce that one.
This is a hazelnut right on the palate. I'll do a full tasting with you.
Well,
okay, all right.
I remember, like, every time we go snow wheeling, I would bring was it Snoqualmie Falls root beer, because one of the breweries around here stocks it, and I'd fill my
growler. That's right.
I'd fill my growlers with root beer for Aaron, because he'd be like, I'll not drink as much and enjoy some root beer with Aaron, and then I would drink as much and let Aaron enjoy the root beer.
Montana Dirt Roads says 10-cup whiskey is key. Montana. It's my last show, so I'm gonna let you know that's some of the worst whiskey I've ever drank. I thought, because of their marketing and their cool bottle of the shot glass, I was so hyped about that, and I bought their whiskey, and I wanted to like it so bad. And the fact that it tastes like there's laundry detergent in it, I couldn't get past. But because I still wanted to like it so bad, one year they did like a 10-year age, super fancy, ultra expensive one. So I was like, you know what? It's that I probably didn't like the regular, but their fancy barrel aged one, I'm gonna love. I gave it away, so you need to get some different. I can't.
Wow, you actually gave it away versus.
I didn't even use it to get drunk with. I was just like, I can't do this. This is cleaning. This is for cleaning wood floors.
That sounds like my tequila that I brought.
Sounds a lot like that tequila you brought one year to snow camp. A couple more episodes that didn't happen. I'm gonna save the worst for last year, but the next one, Cruiser Outfitters. Kurt Williams is a big Land Cruiser guy. He was on whatever that TV show was, the expedition thing. Expedition Overland XO, I think it was. I can't remember for sure, but he was also on Scott Brady's trip around the world where they did the 7 continents with the Land Cruisers. Anyways, I wanted to have him on and do a show specifically about the brand new Land Cruiser. We did our Land Cruiser episode, but I thought it'd be fun. Give the Land Cruiser 6 months, see what people are building for it, have him on to talk about how it's going, what his thoughts are on the new Land Cruiser. So I thought that'd be a great show. And then the last one here, this one was another kick in the privates. Kenda Tires. We wanted to have them on so bad, reached out super hard. Ben and I looked for him at SEMA, didn't find him at SEMA, reached out different ways through social media. We finally got in touch with them. The ball's rolling. I'm telling them how much I love Kenda Tires. I just purchased a set of them from a buddy, and we're going to have them on the show. We're trying to pick dates, and then they just went silent and never heard from them again, even after trying to reach out multiple times. So
I went
Yeah.
on LinkedIn and started contacting employees through LinkedIn. That's how deep we went.
Yeah.
Yeah. We found their marketing person through LinkedIn. Yeah.
Yeah.
That I really wanted them on. And
Really?
How about you, Ben?
Bubba Rope was one I've always wanted to do. I'd heard them do an interview early on, thought they were a cool company.
Mhm.
Loved the story behind them.
We met him at SEMA, and I was
Met
like,
them
we
at
have to have him
SEMA.
on.
And talking to the owner at SEMA and everything was so cool. Really wish I would have gotten that one done. Still gonna say it as much as it burns me. Ivan Ironman Stewart. Grew up with the video game and watching him do stuff. Curry Enterprises. We met Casey Curry at SEMA, and he was ready to come on. And more tire companies. Like BFG, Goodrich, like really at this point I'd take any tire companies just to hear different views from different tire companies, because at this point I'm starting to think they're like birds that are not real or something, or the earth is flat. Like there's only one tire company and we just happen to get two of their guys to come on once, but they all have different names and they're all made in China, and not really, but that's how it feels with just no one ever responding, because we've reached out to a lot of tire companies.
Yeah.
Okay, I just first of all want to point out that birds aren't real, Ben. I just clue you into that. That's why they sit on power lines, as they're recharging. They're all government spy drones. So find a picture of a bird that's over 400 years old. Like you won't find any paintings. World's also flat stuff. JK. So I have just a couple things. I always want to do more listener rides. I don't think we didn't really do any listener rides while I was on the show.
Yeah, you're right. I think we
Yep.
maybe did one, maybe.
Yeah, I think Josh from Ohio, we did kind of one.
Yeah.
So I always kind of want to do those. Maybe they would have sucked. I don't know, but I want to do more of those, and I just didn't. And I always had an idea for a Halloween episode. I wanted to get a bunch of listeners to write in about like spooky, weird, or something, some unexplainable thing that happened, while you're camping around the trail. And, I'm sure all of us have some weird stories where something weird went down. Like, I'm not talking a werewolf ran through your camp or anything, but sometimes just weird stuff happens in the woods. You spend time out in the woods and you see some weird stuff. It just would have been a lot of legwork, and I had to get a lot of interaction from listeners and stuff. And I always said I was going to do it, and I never did it. And I kind of regret not at least trying to do that episode. I think it would have been fun and could have been really interesting. So I want to do like a spooky Halloween thing, and it just never went off for me. The other one that I did kind of try and do, I don't know if you guys remember, there was a group that went out on the Rubicon, and then there was like an insane snowstorm. Like they knew there was going to be some
yeah, that was like 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, it dropped like 6 feet in 12 hours. And they were like trapped up there, and guys were like coming in. They were trying to get to them, but there was some like water crossing they could. I was like intently following this online. Like
That's right.
it was like watching the moon landing for me. Like I was in. Like I'm like, oh, are they getting the guys? And the guys were messaging. Like it was like 3 days, and I'm just like, I'm messaging. I'd be like, oh, I found some more pictures. I went back and forth trying to do that. I thought it was so cool. I found kind of one of the guys on Instagram and shot him a message, and he had some kind of like FJ Cruiser, or sorry, like FJ 45.
Yeah,
FJ 40.
that guy.
It was like FJ Rokes or something. I can't remember. And I tried to email him, but it said like, don't email here. And like he was really hard to contact, even on his website and on Instagram. And I was like, hey man, I'm not here to make fun of you. Like I was following this, like you were Richard Byrd going on an Arctic expedition. I want to hear the story. It sounds so awesome. They like choppered him in fuel with a helicopter. Yeah. Like it was probably an epic story, but a lot of people were trash talking these guys, but they kind of went in. They're like kind of guys like us who do snow camping and are kind of well prepared, and they had food and everything, and they were fine. But they did get in a situation they're having trouble getting out of, but like no one was in an unsafe position. So I was like, hey, dude, this is the coolest adventure. I wish I was with you when this happened. I'm sure my wife would be angry when I had a $6,000 fuel drop bill, but I wanted that interview so bad, and to hear that story from somebody who was there, I really wish we could have got one of those guys to tell that story.
Well, and that's like the guy that got stuck out on the playa when we did that interview.
Yeah, George. Yeah.
George. That was tons of people talk crap about him, but George was able to come on and kind of tell his side of the story, kind of defend it, and also, hey, be like, hey, I am responsible for this. He did take his blame, and yeah, that was
Badlands says, are you not talking about the XJ left in on the con for the winter? It's like 2 years ago. It was like a Dodge pickup, and it was like an FJ45 or some kind of FJ40 variant, a Jeep, maybe a yellow. I want to say like a yellow Jeep. And yeah, they were camping on the Rubicon in the winter and got like I won't say freak snowstorm, because they do get they got unexpected more. They knew snow was coming, but it was like amount they could handle. And then they got like 6 feet. Like a snowcat tried to get in there, but there was too much drop at some water crossing. The snowcat couldn't get across.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they eventually were just going like, a quarter mile a day. They were just digging, and just forced themselves till they got to that water crossing. They had to get airdropped fuel. A guy came in with like a front end loader and tried to dig to them and stuff. Like, but they eventually got there and just they basically from what I could tell, they basically hand dug their way out of this. They just shoveled snow and drove, and shoveled snow and drove, and shoveled snow and drove. And I don't know any of their names, but the guy that had the FJ variant, I tried to get a hold of and never could. And I couldn't find any contact for the other guys.
All right, let's wrap this up with talking about the plans for our rigs in the future. And I know we've talked about this before, but we'll just recap with it anyways. Some plans for our rigs and plans for trips that we still want to do. I know we always say portals. Portals probably isn't in any of our futures without hitting the lottery. But here's some more realistic things. Coy, you got the big list here. Why don't you hit it off?
Aaron, you and me talked about this on the Moab trip, because whenever you're on a big trip, you like to talk about the next big trip before that trip's over. Like, right? We all do that, right? Like,
yeah,
when we're on a go camping trip, or like, hey, what are we doing this summer? What trail? Like, you always do that.
You gotta start planning.
Like day 4 of the trip, we're like, hey, when's the next one? And like, we're all like, hey, when we want to do something big and cool, but can't be next year because the wives, are probably upset right now. Like, kind of, what do we do? And we were like, I don't remember who. I might have even been me. It was like, dude, I've always wanted to run Baja Peninsula. Like, I don't need to go during the the Baja 1000, but
I mean, that would make it extra. That'd make it extra.
Well, I also want the hotels and the food plate. Like, I want it all available to me as well. Like, I don't want to go to Mexico and then have it be booked. Like, that's the last thing I want. So Baja Peninsula 2026.
What did I tell you the name of that guy was?
Baja Forlo, Fiesta Forlo, something Forlo.
Camp Forlo.
Camp Forlo. I looked up his website. There's some kind of like overland rally type thing down there too.
He's still got a website.
Yeah, no, I looked at all his stuff. He's still doing it. So I was thinking maybe, as it gets closer, it feels a little early for me to start planning too much right now. I gotta let the situation at home cool down. Take my wife on a cruise or something, and then we'll work on it. But I thought about sending him an email and say, hey, if I got 8 guys, like what would it take for you to, take us to the tip and back? So yeah, I really want to do the Baja Peninsula. That's kind of like my next Moab trip, in a couple years, here, there, whatever. A small one, the Reward Mine in California. Actually, our friend Rick with the Pumpkin Jeep turned me onto this. He did it and had a video of it. It's an old mine you can drive.
Is that the one you can drive through?
Yeah. It's got side tunnels and stuff.
That one's been on my list forever, and I've avoided it because it's going to California. But I remember seeing that in the early days of being into Jeeps and off-roading. I think it was what is it? The guys that had the website, the Jeep JK site. I can't remember. But yeah.
So, well, Ben, I'll invite you. Like, let's do it. Maybe this summer or something. We can do it. It's close enough, at least for us. It's almost can be a long weekend, like a 4-day weekend. We can make it happen. So
that would be a 4-day weekend.
Badland Industry says he just did it a few weeks ago. Super cool. Yeah. There's a place in Nevada called Moon Rocks. It's not far from Reno, so I could probably go there. My wife, she likes to play some cards, so we can work something out, I'm sure. So I wouldn't mind go check out Moon Rocks. There's an actual, that's like the local whatever name for it, but Moon Rocks has something off-road park. I don't remember. I've said it multiple times, like kind of lifetime trip. I want to get to the Ozarks. Like that's where my family's from. Yeah. Is Moon Rocks good on 35s, or do I need to have something super built there? Can I spend a week on 35s, have a good time? Badlands. So I want to get to the Ozarks. I don't think it's like hardcore wheeling or what I want to do, but something I'd like to do at some point. And then, man, like the last couple years, I keep hearing there's like Arizona's like on the hidden cool stuff. Like there's some sweet wheeling there, but I think because they're just torched all summer long and you don't want to go there because you can't touch things because it's so hot, that I think I'm gonna have to go in the winter at some point, which then I got to cross 97 passes of horrible snow and the Rockies and whatnot to get or else I got to drive like all the way down California, and I don't want to. But so I want to go to Arizona. I'm hearing some real good things out there.
All right, I'm curious.
Secret squirrel out there. And then as far as rigs go, the FJ's, it's safe, dude. Like it's treated me good. I got maintenance and stuff, and there's things I'd like to do to it. Today I saw I think it's Coastal Off-Road. They build like do-it-yourself well-together kits. They just came with an ultra high clearance. I haven't seen a FJ Cruiser bumper that had this kind of clearance, and it looks good, dude. So it's not even on their website.
Front or rear?
Rear. No, I'm good with my front bumper, but I don't have a rear.
Yeah.
It has swing out options. So mine has a boxed frame. You got to cut the box out of the frame and put the bumper on. So that's not as cool, but like it gets, the clearance is insane. So I don't know the price or anything, but man, I'm at the point I need a rear bumper just because it's going to end up screwing my door up at some point. So
yeah,
honestly, I probably will do that rear bumper if it's within my means. And then I'm always, the FJ's safe, but I am always like, man, what do I do stuff? Do I gear and go 37, start cutting? Like once I'm there, do I do a doubler? I am always on this thing where it's like that. I feel like the next real steps for me pushes my truck into basically not something I can daily and do much overlanding with. And it becomes kind of a crawler wheeler that I trailer around. But I want to go bigger, but I don't as well. And like, do you want to take a 2010 FJ that's, not too messed up and, it's worth, tens of thousands and turn it into your wheeler? Or do I want to find something else and get rid of it? But so I do have that in my mind all the time, even though I'm saying it's safe right now. And I think it'll be safe for a while, but I'm always watching Facebook. Those first gen Toyota trucks, always loved those. Had one when I was young. And I keep watching. And there's usually one or two on Facebook Marketplace all the time with the double cab ones that Winnebago made, where they had like a fiberglass back, double cab. A lot of them are 2-wheel drive or even 2-wheel drive dualies. I'm like, I could do that, throw a flatbed on there, have some space in the back to, put some things, technically could haul a couple people. That sitting on 37s with a doubler, 4-link done up on it. Ooh. Not
Is
an
anybody
overland
doing-
rig, but I'd love it.
Is
I'd
anybody
love
doing that?
Doing what?
Has anybody built anything like that?
There's some. Most of the double cab ones that I've seen are second gens for some reason, but I like the first gens, man. I'm a first gen guy, so those mini trucks for me, it's first gen. So I'm sure if you Googled it, there's a ton. I've never seen one in the wild, but they're around. So I could definitely do it, and it would be within my power of fabrication to do most of the work on that. Montana Dirt Road. Have I ever wheeled in Idaho? Not really. I was out by Sandpoint, did a overland, whatever it is, overland rally type thing there.
I've wanted to do Idaho, and it's so close, yet not so far.
Well, for me, I haven't really thought much about Baja. I drove, I don't know, maybe 50 miles of dirt road in Baja before, when I flew down there and drove back. But when Coy mentioned going down there for something to do in a couple years, it sparked a memory in my brain from the 4x4 podcast with Dan Cole, the Camp 4 Low. It took us a long time to remember the guy, Camp 4 Low, but he's been doing it all these years. He's still doing it. I just looked him up.
4x4 podcast. Rest in peace, the OG.
Yeah, the OG. I would love to do Baja with you, Coy. Let's try to make that happen. And any of the other listeners that want to join us, let's see if we can get 80 rigs down to Baja and maybe take over the peninsula. I don't know. Maybe we could start a new Republic of Chad or something.
We could start our own cartel.
I sat in on a video for the Idaho Backroad Discovery when they first launched that specific one. They were launching those Backroad Discoveries in movie theaters, very select few, and I went and watched that one with some friends, and that one looks phenomenal. And so that one's definitely on my list, and it's a long one. I think it's like 8 to 10 days long to do that one. When I keep talking about this glass house in Central Oregon, that's out near Hart Mountain, in the Antelope Preserve out there. So we got to go check that one out. And as far as my rig, I'm really happy with it. The only thing I might change about it is I noticed how much my front bumper hung up on rocks. It sticks out way more than other people. And then I would like to modify the rear of my truck, and do like a high clearance cut on the rear fenders of my truck and add a rear tire swing out so I can move the 35 out of the bed and onto a swing out because it doesn't fit under the truck anymore. So that's where I'm at. As soon as I can get this electrical gremlin figured out, I'm super happy with the truck. Maybe change out the head unit at some point, but it's great. It's doing so well for me. How about you, Ben?
Wait, Aaron. Or new vehicle? We didn't talk about that.
I thought long and hard about it, and I don't think I need a new vehicle. I think I'm happy with the Nissan.
Last time I've talked to you, you were like, I'm ready.
Because I was so pissed. I was so pissed at my truck. I was so pissed at my truck in Moab. Yeah, but if I can get this gremlin figured out, I don't need to sell the Nissan. If I can't figure it out, I feel bad for the person who buys my truck with this electrical gremlin. So
start throwing parts at it.
Yeah.
So locker is on my future, a rear locker at least. I need and want one. Want more than need, but I need one.
I would say need. I think a rear locker in the Pacific Northwest for wheeling, not for backfire roads, but for wheeling, is pretty important.
Yeah, and rear bumper. It's getting to the point where I need one because of preventing damage and all that. Like Coy said, protecting that back door. It's just time. And then I'm gonna start working on the Jeep truck. Once I get a couple projects done for the house stuff, the Jeep truck's coming in the garage and it's going apart, and I want to get it back together within a year. I doubt it will be that quickly, but I'm probably going to take the time I spend on the podcast and be like, okay, this is my time to go in the shop and work on the Jeep truck and make it a thing. So, trips. I want to go to Canada. I've been talking about Canada for a while. I want to go to Moab. I want to go more into Idaho and Montana, like their BDRs. Death Valley, Alaska, and Arizona have been on the list for just a little bit too long. I've been talking to the wife about going to Arizona and doing, the Grand Canyon. We went when I was a very little kid. I've got pictures and some very fond memories.
That doesn't sound like an off-road trip.
Well, there's some spots in Arizona that I've heard about that are not far away from it. And like when my in-laws went, when COVID kicked off and everything shut down, they were on, like it was a snowed out road in the back side of it that they were going through. It just sounds like fun. What is it? The Valley of the Gods in Arizona is where I really want to go check out. And there's a couple other places that are on my Arizona list. But I mean, there's so many places I want to go. Whipsaw Trail is my main Canada.
Badlands Whipsaw has been on ours. Badland Industry says Whipsaw's on my list. Whipsaw's been on our list. That's kind of on our short list, actually. That's like a 6-hour drive for us and like 4 for Ben. So it's mostly I just need to get a passport and go to Canada. Ugh.
Does Oregon have like an enhanced license?
I don't have one.
Does.
They do.
It does, but yeah. Coy, poutine.
That looks good, dude. I don't know if I can chug a whole bottle of maple syrup. Like I'd have to build up to that. So actually Andy says Whipsaw's on his list. Maybe we need to do like summer 2025 Whipsaw trip. Like we got 5 guys ready to go right now. So
all right. Yeah. Okay.
Maybe we'd be able to get Jeremy to come out of retirement for it.
Yeah, I'm down. Let's do it. Like that's an easy one for us. That's a long weekend again.
I hear Whipsaw is very easy to do. It's not a hard trail. It's an overlander trail. So
yeah.
Well, so we can go up there and shoot off fireworks.
Just it was asked earlier in the show, but we talked about it last week. Why are we ending the show? We're tired. I've been doing this. So just I pulled up the numbers. I started on episode 51. We're at 477. That was July 9th, 2015 when it came out. And a year before that, I attempted to record an episode before the previous set of hosts had started, and it didn't work out. Aaron joined episode 66, October 22nd, 2015. Jeremy was episode 187 in 2018. Coy, his first guest appearance was episode 290 in 2001.
No, so 21.
2021. Yeah. 2021.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
I mean,
like 15 then.
We put in a lot of time, and the 4 to 10 or 12 hours sometimes each. It's a lot. We're tired. We've got other things we want to do with our family, and this is families, and this kind of cuts into it.
I'm going to be honest, guys. I'm just trying to sell my podcast gear and get the money to go buy the Off-Road Challenge stand-up arcade game. So I actually want to keep going. I just need to sell some stuff so I can get it. get an arcade game from 97. Like you got to prioritize. So,
but I will say, I will truly miss interacting with everyone that I have. And who knows? We've got potentially some people that are talking about coming in and taking over the show, and we might make guest appearances or whatnot. You never know. I'm definitely not against it. And like I said, if you are interested and you want to come in and help host the show, we'll help you out, and I'll make sure you guys aren't left high and dry. We're just not going to be like, here you go, bye. This is this show's my baby for what we've put into it. Aaron's baby, Coy's baby, anyone that's been put time and effort into this. I don't want to just go here's the keys and ruin the name, or for you listeners, what we've created. Hopefully make it something amazing, even better.
That's Ben. I will give the keys to a 16-year-old just to see what they do with it. Like I love.
Honestly, that'd be kind of interesting to see the point of a 16-year-old, what they want to do for a show. That would be kind of interesting to see. So yeah, maybe so, and I'd just help edit it for them.
Yeah. We'd love to see somebody else take it. Like I was a fan of this show before I was a host, and I'd love to be a fan of the show after as a host. And if somebody takes it over and they want some extra help, I'm not against helping host for a while. Like so, if you're even thinking about it, shoot us a message. Go ahead, Aaron.
As for me, I've already got next Monday booked and 3 Mondays a month booked every month from now till my son probably turns 18. So moving on, not turning back. I won't be coming back. I'm out of here. I don't have to. I'm only quitting because I get tired of correcting Ben's spelling in the show notes. I'm like, I can't correct his spelling anymore, so I'm out. I'm done. It's too much work. That's literally where 4 out of 4.5 of the hours go.
Grammarly can't keep up.
I actually haven't said this till now, but I wrote a letter to myself to prove this, so I have proof. And actually, about 3 months ago, I said, if Ben can make it through the opening monologue without screwing it up, I'm going to stay. So obviously, both of you know what happened.
Yeah.
So.
Didn't.
Nope. No, the dyslexic guy reading live never works. I should have just recorded it at one point.
I just wanted to slip one last roast into Ben for old time's sake. So guys, I loved our listeners. I loved this. I won't say it's never again, but it's likely we won't talk to you anymore unless you reach out personally, not through the podcast. And I want to thank all you guys, man. This has been a fun ride. I've had a good time. So before I get emotional, next week, guys, for the show, who knows? Make your own show.
You're still on air.
Well, for our closing statements, I'd like to say thank you, everyone who has listened every week. You know who you are. Listening, watching, it really does mean a lot to us. And I know I say that every week, but we really do appreciate you guys. Appreciate you, our listeners, and the few of you that watch online. Appreciate you guys. Here's a little outro video for you to watch, and it's just some of the memories of the podcast. And this is it. This is the end of the line, boys.